Okay, we are in Kedusha Shabbos, Maimer Vav, in mind, paragraph Daled. There is no paragraph. No.
What is this, sir?
Well, we were learning of where was the Pascha Zuma. Karamer b'Shabbos to Yaakov Pascha Zuma. So, to do a quick chazara here, the Gemara says, Machlokas, when was the Pascha Zuma? The interesting thing about this Gemara is that there was no Pascha Zuma. We're still waiting for Pascha Zuma, but there was apparently, in degree, some Pascha Zuma. Maza Pascha Zuma. Pascha Zuma was that when we did the chet, or when we were enticed by the nachash to do a chet, so the exhilaration nachash, which means the eitzah of the nachash, so a zuhama, a certain type of a poison, maybe a spiritual poison, entered into not just our bodies, but into mankind. And we're walking around with this zuhama, an infection. I believe the Hebrew word for infection is a zuhama.
I always thought we lived in a zoo.
Zihum.
I always thought we lived in a zoo.
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 Thank you. So, how do we know it's going to be nifsak? Maybe it's a permanent thing. So the answer, as we've said many times, is that the plan for the Bria is, plan A of the Bria is that we're born in Gan Eden, we stay in Gan Eden. There's no need for Mashiach because that is Mashiach. There's no need for Tchias Avesim because there's no Misa. There's no need to stop wars because there are no wars, there's peace. There's no need to make people stop struggling because the B'zeyas HaPech HaToich HaLechem wasn't invented yet. So Gan Eden would have been nice in that sense, but we were evicted from Gan Eden. We have the Zuama because of the Eitz Hadas. So now, how do we do the Tikkun of the Chet and get back into Gan Eden? So the Gemara says, Yesh Oimrim, one man damar Yaakov Avinu, Nifsaka Zuama, and the other man damar is, which is much more popular, is Matan Torah, Nifsaka Zuama. Again, my diuk is that there was obviously, this is what Rav Tzadok is saying, there was obviously some nifsak zuhama that took place by Yaakov Avinu, some more that took place at Tar Sinai, and some more that's yet to take place of nifsak zuhama. Nifsak zuhama is a very simple concept, a sort of simple concept of getting rid of the infection, antibiotic, getting rid of the zuhama, and therefore, once that's out of us, we can go back into Gan Eden, and we'll call it Geula. We'll call it Mashiach. Mashiach Geula has gotten lost its luster in the last number of years, but it's really the whole thing because it's all about the original plan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Geula. So it's not an independent concept. Geula is not an independent concept. It's the concept. It's the whole tachlis of the world. So what is this? So Rav Tzadok explained until now that when Yaakov Avinu saw that mitasa shlema, meaning that Avraham had a Yishmael and Yitzchak had an Esav, he realized there's still some zuhama, but Yaakov Avinu, at least Pesov Yamav, saw she mitasa shlema, and once he saw that mitasa shlema had all 12 shvatim, they were all good, so he said, okay, nifsaka zuhama. Comes the Gemara and tells us, we learned this Gemara last time, that Bikesh Yaakov Legalis HaSaketz. He had, as the Gemara puts it, Hashras HaShchina. And he was very happy with Hashras HaShchina. Hashras HaShchina is the definition of Gan Eden. Beis HaMikdash is Hashras HaShchina. Why? Because, once again, we're replicating, we learned, the Kohen Gadol, on Yom Kippur, in the Kodesh Kodashim, those kruvim that would, in Babylonian eyes, would be considered pornographic, but to the kind in Gan Eden, where we were arumim, it was holy. So that Kodesh Kodashim, that Chedrei Chadarim, if you will, is a moment of holiness. If the Kohen Gadol had any averas, he wouldn't see it that way. He'd see it the wrong way, because that means his zuhama is active. So what is the zuhama that's nistalic, let's say, on Yom Kippur, on Kodesh Kadoshim, by the Kohen Gadol. What is the zuhama that makes us look at something as holy as the kruvim and look at it as an object of Aveira? Or so we know that ideally we get married, ish v'isha, hashchina shrei b'nei, we're two kruvim. It's a beautiful thing, but at the same time, it seems to be the makor of the biggest tumah in the world. So what's the difference between the kedusha and the tumah? What's the line? What's that red line? That red line is zu amas hanachash, who took it to a level of tumah. So the taich of it is that you see what you are. According to what you are, that's what you see. We've been saying this over and over again. And if a person has ingested ra within themselves through the etzadas, etc., so we've ingested what? Tov v'ra. And once we've ingested ra, we have this uncanny ability of seeing everything, even if it's wonderful and holy, as a davar ra. That's what we learned. Then, so the son said to Yaakov, Nifsaka azuma avaloy lagamri. What's the lashon there? Ein anu nikim miyetzer hara lagamri. Something, yes, there's no more Yishmael, there's no more Esav. We tell us Shlit'a, we're Klal Yisrael. But ein anu nikim miyetzer hara lagamri. We're not lagamri naki from the yetzer hara. So it means that we haven't got a nifsaka zuama lagamri. So, and how did they say this? Their lashon was, says the Gemara, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Yishem shein believe Echad, kach ein believe Heinu Echad. Deep inside, it's Echad. We're not. Echad is the pshat. There's no tov v'ra. That's deep inside. On the external, there's tov v'ra. We're still doing bad things. We still have taiva. We still there's still tov v'ra. But it's external. Inside, there's no tov v'ra. Inside, there's only WORDS of HASHEM. See, as I used to wonder as a child, it was like one of the things I wondered about as a child, like why does Chazal have to, I wasn't happy with this, the Yetzer Hara and Yetzer HaTov that I was learning all about. I wasn't happy with it. I remember as a child feeling like why can't it just be me? It was me. I could get better. I could be worse. But it's like this whole bifurcation of the soul. Yetzer Hara, Yetzer HaTov, like this whole war going on. Just wasn't making me happy. But the pshat is, what's the emes pshat? That in the neshama level, or on Olam Haba level, or the Kohen Gadol and the Kodesh Kadoshim level, or Adam Arishin Kohen Machet level, all of those cases based on Mikdash level. So there's only one. But after the Eitz Hadas, what I was really saying is I don't like this Eitz Hadas thing. But after the Eitz Hadas, so now there's a war going on. So now I have a Nisayan. How am I looking at the Kruvim? Am I looking at it like a Babylonian, or am I looking at it like a Jew, or like a Kohen Gadol? So am I seeing Toiv, or am I seeing Ra, even though we're both seeing exactly the same thing? So what we're understanding is, if it would be Nifsaka Zuama Lagamri, we would all see it good. If it's like Nifsaka Zuama at all, we would all see it bad. But there's degrees here. So there's the degree of Yaakov Avinu Bano. Einanu Nikiyam Yetzer Hara Lagamri. We can get there. We can become a Kohen Gadol B'Yom Kippur, and we could get there. But Einanu Nikiyam Yetzer Hara Lagamri. We can't say we're there completely, where there's no taiva. We can look at anything. Like the Tanoim said, they used to dance at Chasnas with the kala on their shoulders. So we're not holding on that kind of a madrega. The Gemara says, are you holding on that madrega? No, we're not holding on such a madrega. Like we can't even think we're holding on such a madrega. But there is some madrega within us that is holding us. Comes Rav Tzadok and he says, that there's a little bit of ra there, a little bit of taiva, is actually not a bad thing. He adds here, this is not just a parenthesis in Rav Tzadok, But this is, I believe, one of the main reasons for him writing everything that he wrote. This was his raison d'etre of Rav Tzadok, which has given many people chizuk. Aval be'emes, just at this very important sense, yakar mi chachma mi kavod sichlus me'at. Shlomo HaMelech said, even better than chachma and kavod, meaning even better than everything good, is a little bit of bad. A little bit of bad, you know. Like, I just like, would you want to marry somebody who's completely good? Why are you laughing?
What that would mean.
I thought I did.
I tried to think what
I thought I
that
did.
means.
I think I did. it's right. Worship Hashem b'shnei levavecha b'yetzer hara b'yetzer hatov. So kisor, like if you want to sounds like we have a right hand, we have a left hand. Yeah, the minu is small. You know, if I'm shaking your hand, it's with the rechte hand. You know, like my right hand is with your right hand. There's a left hand there. If somebody has two right hands, you know, it's obnoxious. So there's something you can't relate to. I was thinking a lot about this that recently, really more again the Pirkei Avos shir that I'm giving. But the idea of a tzaddik. Tzaddik. Who's a tzaddik? So we have our way of using the word tzaddik. You know, somebody who's worldly, somebody who's up there. In Lashon HaMikra, and even in Lashon of Shas, it's not what a tzaddik is. Noach is tzaddik. Chazal call Yosef a tzaddik, Mordechai a tzaddik, and in times of Tanoim, Shimon a tzaddik. So who, like of all these, Hillel wasn't a tzaddik, he wasn't a good man. Why? I don't know anybody else tzaddik you can think of. I think, do I have it? Right? Noach is tzaddik. Avram Avinu spoke to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, pleaded with HaKadosh Baruch Hu by Stein. He introduced the term. You know, isn't there 50 tzaddikim in Sodom? Okay, there's 50. I won't destroy. Isn't there 40? Like what? So what's a tzaddik? Even Cain. So what's a tzaddik? Noach is tzaddik. The answer is Noach is tzaddik because Noach was Isha Adama. Yosef was a tzaddik because Yosef had been Mitzrayim. And he was having bayot with Eshes Potiphar. The tzaddik is Midas HaYisayid. Tzaddik, Yisayid, Elah. Yisayid is very grungy. It's a grungy situation. If you're up here in the Kesser, like you're talking, then you're otherworld. So Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, maybe you're a Chassid, maybe you're a Gibor. Those are all otherworldly. Yisayid is what comes right before Malchus. It has to do with the earth. It has to do with the Yetzer Hara. It has to do with the nisyonos of life. So you can't be a tzaddik if you've never been in this world. So the pshat in Noach is tzaddik is because Noach was the Isha Adama. Vayochel Noach es Adama. He didn't do good with that one. He did Adama chulin. Yosef was a tzaddik. Shimon a tzaddik. He was dealing with Alexander. He had to deal with Greeks, etc. So the tzaddik shivamikra, laliyas daiti, is always the one tzaddik or tzaddikas, which is very, very close to the earth. But today the certificate tzaddik goes on many, many people, including 3-year-old kids. Oh, yeah, tzaddik. But if you say so, he's like a great neshama, that's not a tzaddik. That's a, you know. I very seldom take the bus. I just I had about over the cars. I just take the bus. I'm just like fascinated by Israeli society. never encountered it before. I was like this lady in front of me with her kid, you know, who was acting up, not for a lady, you know, but every second. Tzaddik ata neshama kapara. wow, unbelievable, like all the lashinas that she put on her 4-year-old kid. Tzadikli, the Shemba Kapara, she was right. All of those things have to do, the Toar Tzaddik is not the person who you meet and you say, well, it's almost like a malach. Look at it's malach. Well, that's kodesh. It's a tzaddik. Tzaddik midas hayisai. This is where heaven touched earth. Grungy place. The mud goes slinging. Everything goes flying. And it's the place that you go before you get to malchus. Chesed Gvur Tiferes Netzach Yesod malchus. So malchus means that I mamish permeated the earth, right? And out comes the Kvod Hashem. So malchus is what comes only after Yesod. You don't have tzaddik, then malchus. So Noach, he's tzaddik. Why? Because he was supposed to bring Mashiach. That's the Mordechai was his tzaddik. Mordechai had tzaddik, and he brought the Bayis Sheni. And Shimon had tzaddik. Interesting. Yosef had tzaddik, was Mashiach ben Yosef. So tzaddik is a Mashiach concept, because it's so low. So Rabbi Tzadok, and he says that if you couldn't touch the earth, then you can't be in tzaddik. So in a certain sense, everybody keeps asking this question. Like, was it that Adam Rishon ate from the Eitz Hadas? At the end of the day, if we're going to be honest, was it a good thing or a bad thing? It's very difficult to conceive the world without any Yetzer Hara. It's very difficult to understand what our tachlis in the world would be without any Yetzer Hara, and what I dare say, what our geschmack in life would be without any Yetzer Hara. And it's hard to say. See, as the Gemara says, would we be married successfully without any Yetzer Hara? Would we do business successfully? Would we even learn Torah successfully if not for any kind of Yetzer Hara? Yetzer Hara represents the drive within us. So it would be driveless. We would all be 95-year-old malachim.
We'd be in neutral.
It would be in neutral, and it would be nice. Maybe it would be nice for Kvod Hashem, but Kvod Hashem to who? Who are we giving him? Who are we giving this covet to? So says Rav Tzadok, don't knock the Yetzer Hara so much, because the Yetzer Hara is, as he puts it, Kiki Lusai. This is what Yaakov is saying. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchusa. Guys, Shvatim, Shiftei Ka, you're not there in terms of Mashiach, but Baruch Shem Kivod Malchusa, you are making a lot of covet for the Malchus. Where's covet for the Malchus? What comes before Malchus? Yesod. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchusa. You're not holding by Malchus. We're not holding by the Gilui of Mashiach, but we are holding by Kvod Malchusa. Not so bad. Kvod Malchusa, I just say a little drasha, like we say b'chashay, we say it quietly. Baruch Shem Kvod Malchusa. It's also, whenever we talk about the preamble to Mashiach, which is Mashiach ben Yosef, we do that quietly too. There's not a lot of discussion. Those who discuss it get put in chayrim, generally speaking. I once went to a shir of Moshe Shapiro Shlit'a, and we were learning the Gemara Brachos Montes, Ches Bar Koch, and I remember his opening line. He says, "Yesh li allergia Mashiach ben Yosef." It creates. I mean, he's a goat, right? It creates so much. Once you say Mashiach ben Yosef, oh, Mizrahi. Once you say Mashiach ben Yosef, I'm a cooknik. Or Mashiach ben Yosef, I'm Shabsai Tzvinek, Verves. What you become with Mashiach ben Yosef? B'chashoy. The prelude to Mashiach is quiet. So Baruch Shem Kvod Malchusa, that's still a hate. You don't make a lot of noise with that. So says Rav Tzadok, Kilusai ukvod Malchusai. If we're talking about the kilus, the praise of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if we're talking about the kavod of the Malchus, it's being medayik in the Lashon, the kvod Malchusai, the kavod, the yesod that comes before Malchus, kavod is yesod, by the way. Oila yoser, it's much more worthy. Yesh adayin yetzer b'leiv. With the Yetzer Hara. We're better with the Yetzer Hara than without. V'im kol zeh levavai makir yichuda yisparach. And with my Yetzer Hara, b'chol levavcha, I'm makir yichuda, I'm able to say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad u'v'dei noid milvadai. And I'm able to say with the Yetzer Hara, hey noid milvadai. It's a decision. It's a decision. Don't we say that b'makom shebal tshuva imdim tzadikim gemor meinu michal lamacham? Everybody who's about tshuva understands it. There's a decision here. It's wonderful to be a tzaddik, but there's a decision here. We're not doing aveiros in order to become about tshuva, but if you're zaycha, there's a decision here. So, as Rav Tzadok, like everybody does aveiros, like it's not necessarily the property of the chilonim. Everybody does aveiros. Everybody has to do tshuva. Everybody has to be about tshuva. Rabbis wasn't writing for not for people, he's writing for people. So everybody has to be about tshuva. That about tshuva is a higher badrega. Welcome Shabbat tshuva imdim. Why? Because of this exact sentence. In kol zeh levavei makir yichuda yisparach v'dei noid milvadai v'al zeh isa, and that's the pshat toiv moed zeh Yetzer Hara. Af al pi shemitzat toiv is Yetzer Hara toiv moed is Yetzer Hara. V'afal pi shemitzad haneshama zetahira hi bas melech be'elyonim. Isn't it beautiful that mitzad our neshama were mamish like malachim? Like after all, the neshama is the part that's the spiritual. We talk about very spiritual people.
According to what he's saying, b'makom is very meduyek. B'makom shebal imdim. That spot, that covered here,
Yesod.
Gomer can't bring it. Only the Baal Shuva can do it.
You know, you're saying a big thing because Rabbi Nachman says in the Maran that the Malkim Shabbat Tshuva Imtim Ein Sadikim G'morim Yechol Lamed Sham. It's not like an either or. If we start off big about Tshuva, then you get to the point of Tzaddik Gomer, but don't lose what you can get, says Rabbi Nachman, when you're still in the Madrega about Tshuva. Don't let that one slip through your fingers. Like a very deep and not so deep Reb Nachman, which is so passionate. You know, that don't let it slip through your fingers because there's that's it. You know, like as you're ascending higher and higher, enjoy the view. Like every spot has its own.
The days of the Omer, counting of the Omer.
Days of the Omer. Every day has its view. You just close your eyes till you get to the top. So there's Reb Nachman, but the Malkim Shabbat Tshuva, and you're in a place that later on you're not going to see this as a tzaddik gomer. So it's not an either. Oh, yeah, I'll never be a tzaddik gomer, but I have a Baal Tshuva. That's okay. That's higher. No, Malkim Shabbat Tshuva ain't tzaddikim v'chayim. What do you say, Rabbi Tzadok?
Could you explain what it means that covered is yourself?
Covered is based on the Arizal says, by the way. Shevach Yikor Gdula. Every place you see Kvoid Malchus, it comes before Malchus. Just very simply, before the Queen of England emerges from her castle there, her palace. So first comes the horses and the guards and before Lahavdil Shabbos comes in, we give kavod to Shabbos, and we say to the Bria, because Shabbos we make Kiddush. So kavod is not Malchus. Kavod is it's on its way to Malchus and it's on its way out of Malchus. Malchus is Malchus. And we say this in Kedusha also. Or kavod.
Ma'akesher to the Yesod part of it.
Because Yesod is what precedes Malchus.
So Yesod is the grungy, the down to earth.
Oh, why is that? My understanding of why is that, you mean?
Yeah, what's the connection to that?
Because if it doesn't, let's take the example of the Melech. If it doesn't affect the allegiance of the world of Gashmias, then it's not really Malchus. In other words, if this Melech is a figurehead and only living in an ivory tower, so then it has nothing to do with the people. So Malchus has to do with the people. Ein Melech loy am. People are grungy. In other words, if you're the queen, then you're a billionaire with everything around you being perfect. But if you're but the queen has to be ein melech below am. So like it's an interesting paradox where you can be up here but be of the people. So you can be the type that's like a folks person, lav dafka. But what's going on of the melech reaching down to the people is getting into the grunginess and being meshabed that also to the queen king, and in our case to Avinu Shebashamayim. It makes perfect sense. So Yesod, the word means that it's the Yesod of Malchus, as Arizal says. Yesod who ain't a Yesod, there's a lotion of Rabbeinu B'Kavanos. Yesod ain't a Mimidah Shehu Lamata Mihasfirais. Right? But who Hachana L'Malchus Gemara. In other words, don't look at it as coming Chesed V'Ur Tiferes Netzachot Yesod, we're over here, but look at it as Yesod, we've reached Yesod up here, the other way around. Says the Aries, I'll turn it around. Who Yesod L'Malchus, you're giving a Yesod to the concept of Malchus. You're giving Yesod, otherwise Malchus is wishy-washy. Let me just address something which is a little bit tangential, but it comes back to it. There seems to be, I just want to make a deal that might not have ever been made in history. Adam Arishan ate from the das, the Eitz HaDas. The Nachash, here's how the conversation went. Here's how the conversation went. The Nachash says to Chava, thank you. The Nachash says to Chava, "Oh, you're in Gan Eden. You can't eat anything here." That's what Nachash said. You're just finding it. Nachash says you're in Gan Eden. You can't eat anything here. So Chava says, "That's not what Hashem said. Hashem said, "B'kol eitz hagan toicha." You can eat from everything. Just eitz hadas shebetoicha gan ve'ha'etz shebetoicha gan lo yisaycha. Just as you would say eitz hadas. Ve'ha'etz shebetoicha gan lo yisaycha. I'm not sure why she said it that way, but that's what she said. So the Nachash's trick here was Bal Tosef. You're completely deprived. You're in Gan Eden, walking around. You don't have any clothes on. All these beautiful eitzim all around you. You can't do nothing. Like that's the Nachash's argument, if you will. And Chava says no, it's not so. But then Chava says, and you know what? And if I eat from the Eitz Hadas, Hashem says, "Bais Tamusa," you're going to die. Which of course, thank you very much. Which of course happened. Let's read inside. Vayitzav Hashem Elokim al Adam le'mer v'kol Eitz Hagan ochel techa u'be'Eitz Hadas toiv v'ra lo yisaycha imenu. V'anochash, says the Torah, ha'yar mikol chayes hasada. Right? Nasty one. V'yomer Elisha afki abar Elokim lo yisaycha b'kol Eitz Hagan. Hashem said you should eat from all the Eitz Hagan. Doch, maybe you should eat. But so she answered intelligently, I'm not allowed to eat from all these trees. I could have avocados, I could have oranges, I could have kumlats. Just one tree I can't eat. I shouldn't even touch it. So he started with a gross exaggeration of the Yisr, and she added also some. I'll tell you something. I can't eat it, I can't touch it. It's mamish not true. It's mamish not true. It's only that Hashem knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened. Or kelohim. This is what's going to happen. Now, Hashem was right, because by eating from the Eitz Hadas, they were goyim misa, because it took them out of Gan Eden. But the Nachash was right. You didn't immediately drop dead from eating from the Eitz Hadas. But what is going to happen? What does he mean? I presume this is what the Nachash was saying. Somehow I understand the Nachash here better than Chav. But what is the Nachash saying? The Nachash is saying what Hashem means when he says "Mois Tamusun," that you're going to die, is he means you're going to be Yodea Tov V'Ra. Nifkachu Einechem Your eyes are going to open. Vatera isha kitoiva it's l'maychel v'chitavo ileinaim looks good. V'nechmano it's l'haskil. V'tikach mipiria v'toichal. She bit the apple. Vatita gamli isha ima v'ayechal. And they had a suda of the Eitz Hadas. Now, here's my horror. At the moment of eating from the Eitz Hadas, like the Nachash said, she and he, Adam and Chava, ingested what? Ra. And Tov. Isn't it interesting? How come nobody talks about the Tov? Meaning, if I'm right, not only was the Ra bachutz, but in the form of a Nachash, but the Tov was also bachutz in the form of a fruit.
What did they have?
So they had no tov either.
No Tov or Ra. So everybody talks about how, okay, we ingested the Ra, now we have a Yetzer Hara. True, but now we also have a Yetzer Tov. The bifurcation took place.
So they were boys?
It's not that, the Gemara doesn't say that I'm Tov, my neshama is Tov, and now I've got this element of Ra. It's not the way it goes, I don't think. It's that there's the neshama, here's the diagram, there's the neshama, and Ra, Tov, V'Ra. Both of them came by eating the Eitz Hadas, and that's basically what the Nachash said, that if you'll eat the Eitz Hadas, you have Tov, V'Ra.
But why can't it be that there's a difference between having only Tov and then later, now you have Tov Ra, which is a different.
Choliyot,
now
but it's not
a mix.
It doesn't say that. Nothing. Why can't it be? It could have been.
So what are the
No, but why, I don't see that in the Lashon.
It doesn't say there was any Tov before within me.
It was right,
I was in
right and
neutral.
wrong.
That's what
But
you're
just
saying.
because now
So
there's
the
Tov
difference
Ra.
between right and wrong.
Okay. I did not have within me, as a human being, I did not have a pull to Ra, and there's no reason to say, there's not much no reason, Yi'u Elohim. Before this, what Hashem was only knowing bad. Before HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the atzmius of the Bria, and the atzmius of the Bria has in it Kilu Toiv Ra as we see it, and now you're going to be Kelakim, which is Yoidea with your das, it's a das, Yoidea, you're going to have a das of Toiv V'Ra. That's exactly what the Nachash said. You can say whatever you want, but that's what he was saying. And she said, what did she say? Oh, I like the Ra? No, I like the Tov. Or, I like the grunginess of real life, which has in a Tov V'Ra, Bechir L'Tov, Bechir L'Ra. But, was meinach zu sagen, what I'm trying to say is this. What I'm trying to say is that, like, ingesting the Ra has a side effect which is quite good, because you've also ingested the Tov. So what happens at this moment of the Eitz Hadas, is which we can relate to because we're the children of man, what has happened to us is that we are in part of this earth now, which contains in it Tov V'Ra. Let me take it even further, just to illustrate what I mean. Look, you don't have to agree because it's a Chiddush Nifla. I looked at all the Rishonim. I never saw anybody say that there was something happened with Tov at the time of the Eitz Hadas.
When Hashem created us, he said Tov Ma'od. Tov Ma'od.
Tov Ma'od.
No, right, it was there. It was there.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying it was there when he created us. It had to be there.
Within us?
Tov in nature.
Also, Tzion Elokim, and then we're created.
Godly.
Godly is Tov by nature.
How do you know that?
Tzion Elokim.
You're defining Tov now.
God is
There's
good.
Das. Tov has to do with Das. Tov has to do with
What did
Das.
they have? How do you have to define what they had before?
What do Malachim have? They don't have Tov, they don't have Ra. We were Malachim.
Like, how could she
What's
be enticed?
Malachim? I'm doing the WORDS of Hashem. I'm a busy bee.
But she was enticed.
Well, you look at a bee. Tov, it's Ra. It is what it is.
The Rav said there was Bechir before.
Outside. There was Tov, there was Ra. Out there. What happened was that I brought it into my essence. But again, what you're asking, you can ask on Ra also, or only on Ra. You're talking about, okay, was there Ra before or after? We talked about that. What I'm saying is, whatever happened, the paradigm shift that took place between Kodem Eitz Hadas and Acher Eitz Hadas is the Tov V'Ra. When we're talking about, I know, like Nifsaka Zu Amosam, so whatever was internalized then becomes
Scorched.
yeah, it could be a word. Right. So you're taking out the Ra. What's going to happen to me? If Nifsaka Zu Amosam. So a little bit happened to us by Yaakov Avinu, by the Shvatim. We developed what Eliezer called the Pintaliyin. I don't like the term, but I don't know who invented that term. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't say Pintaliyin. But okay, there's a Nakuda. I guess that's the point. There's a Nakuda of time.
So that
You
maybe,
always have just me and Yalin. I remember somebody came to my house in the United States, Buffalo, years ago, raising money for something. I'm a shulach. Okay, told me a story. I gave him $18. So he said to me, like, he's really thinking. He was really hoping. He was thinking, like, he traveled all the way from here to blah blah blah. He's really thinking like 500 hours. So I said, okay, glad you're thinking, but if I had $500, I'd buy some food for my family. I don't have that kind of, even $18 is a big one for me. And I explained to them I haven't gotten paid in months, and I don't have any kind of money, and there's nothing to pull on, and it's not like I have like a big tzedakah fund, and blah, 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 blah. So I pleaded poverty. I said, like, even $18. So by the time I finished, like, I'm very persuasive. By the time I finished, he felt so bad for me. He was getting $18. He said to me, like, Kadosh Baruch Hu should be Mevarach you.
Never met that.
What?
I never met that.
It was a Hasidic guy. But he says, like, Kadosh Baruch Hu should be Mevarach you. He gives me, he tells you with Hashiros. You should be zelchet to have Hashiros, and you should be zelchet to have a lot of money for yourself, for your family, your community, your Shlit'a, you should have a bracha of Hashiros. So now already I felt bad. So I said to him, like the Doyle would say, that the Tzion of Hashiros is even bigger than the Tzion of Aniyus. So he says to me, the Hasidim don't all like that. Like I thought I knew about every machlokes to the Hasidim of the Messiah. There's also machlokes. There's also machlokes. He's right, by the way. He's right. If you look at, it's like an interesting thing. It made me think. Basil Sisharov says that the world is full of Nesayim. Hashirus mitzad echad, va'aniyus mitzad sheni. Anyway you turn, one of Shach, you're going to have a Nesayim. Which Nesayim is bigger? He doesn't say. Basil Sisharov doesn't say. Rabbi Shosalanter, who was the purveyor of the Mesilas Yesharim, he's the one who got the world to learn Mesilas Yesharim, says that it's a davar bar to him that the Tzion of Ashiros is a bigger Nisayan than the Nisayan of Aniyus. What do you think? Anybody has an opinion? Like, which is the bigger? I heard once that Rav Soloveitchik, Shalom say, he said over a story, one of his famous drushes, he said that he was explaining. He said that he had a grandfather, a great grandfather. His name was Rabbi Shayas. I think it was Rabbi Shayas Soloveitchik. I think it was. I don't know if it was Soloveitchik. He called it Rabbi Shaya. He said that Rabbi Shaya gave one of his children went into business or something like that. So he went to his Rebbe, the Gra. One of his ancestors was a Talmud Gra. So he went to his Rebbe, the Gra, and he said that my children are going into business. Like, I want to be mispala for him. What's the correct way to be mispala? I think I'm saying the story right. So, the Vilna Gaon told his Talmud Rabbi Shaya, early on Soloveitchiks, or that family, he said that the guy said you should daven for every day that they should be on the end. And I remember the Rav saying that this tefillah was mekuyim in our whole family. There's never been in the history of the Soloveitchik family anybody that was an usher. It's amazing because you're talking about probably the highest IQ in the world for generations, and people that did go into business. So they're smart guys, Jews, because Zayder Rishai did us a chesed, and he davened every day that my kids should be aliyah because of Pekudas Hagra. So there's no ashiras in our family. The emphasis, that's not such a big Kiddush story because I believe that the Goin says in the Geras Hagra that he wrote to his family. He said, I believe he said to look it up recently, but if I recall, he says that Achi Yispalel, that the children, he told his wife, Achi Yispalel, that the children should be aniyim, ashirim, better be mispalel, they should be aniyim. So you see it's this Litvisha approach, if you will, of the Nisayan of Ashirus L'chayra being better than the Nisayan of Aniyus.
Being stronger. Being more difficult.
Ashirus being a bigger Nisayan. Better to be Mispal, they should be Aniyim. At least they won't have.
I think that Ani knows the struggle, where the Asher can easily forget it. So he doesn't even know to work on it. But the Ani, every day, he feels the struggle. This is my Nisayan. Asher can go on and become completely disconnected because
I think also I think also the disconnect of Begaiva, the disconnect of Koichivoitzim Yadi, the disconnect of feeling, you see this with Ashirim. They feel like they're it's untouchable, almost beyond the normal, even in Ruchnius. It's an interesting thing to watch. It's a sad thing, but interesting thing to watch when they fall. But there's a certain feeling of invulnerability to Ashir. So the side of Ashir is this guy says, but the Hasidim don't hold that way. So that's an interesting dehar also. If you'd ask any of us which Nisayan we want, then we'll take the Nisayan of Ashir. Let me win the lottery and then I'll worry about it. But it's like if we could really think about it, like the Goin thought about it, it's like mamash lo pashut. But I just want to say, I'm actually going to say this in the Kudah, that however you touch it up, the Mesillas Yesharim is right. That everything is a Nisayan, Ashirus bitzad echad, v'aliyus bitzad sheni. Which is the bigger Nisayan? It could be a machlekes between the Vardik and Slabotker, and the Hasidim and the Masager, any way you want to look at it. Or they could be equal, like the Mesillas Yesharim is Bashma. But it's a Nisayan. So, what's a Nisayan? Where does the Nisayan come into our lives, if not from the Achil of the Eitz Hadas? So the Eitz Hadas, by eating the Eitz Hadas, we ingested Ra, but we ingested Toiv Ra. Toiv and Toivoid. Toiv is the good life. The Nisayan, in other words, what happened over here is that we became Balei Nisayan with the Achil of the Eitz Hadas. Pshita. We became Balei Nisayan. Before that, we would have been like Malach. Malach don't have no Nisayanis. But people have Nisayanis. Maybe when Mashiach comes, there won't be any Nisayan anymore. Maybe.
But will be tov?
What? There'll be a tov, but it'll be a tov. There'll be a universal tov. There won't be any wars. There won't be any suffering. The money will grow on trees.
I'm confused a little bit. We have to get rid of the Ra within us. That's part of bringing Mashiach. Right? We also have to get rid of the Tov within us and bring ourselves back to neutral.
So good, but I think you're maybe wording it will help. You have to harness the Ra, and you have to harness the Tov. What the teaching here is that you don't get rid of Ra. You're Oivus Hashem with the Ra. Mashiach aside for a second. You have to harness the Ra, which we understand. You have to also harness the Tov. The Avodah is as much in the Tov If not on the Ra, v'yei shoybrim, then it's a bigger avodah. Avodah Satoim is even a bigger nisai. So you could, like I say, you could decide whether you want to be a chassid or a misnagid, or you want to go to Slavatka, or you want to go to Navardik. But the fact of the matter is, I'll take the rich road myself. But the fact of the matter is that they both present this side in this world. Now, what will happen when Mashiach comes? Okay, it's the alter kasha. Will we be bored or will we not be bored? But I don't know. How do I know? What happens at Olav Haber? Like, to go so far as Mashiach, we're all dying. I mean, we all die. So what's going on up there? No, it sounds boring. A person could say, look, I want to go to hell with my friends. there's what to do, there's what to be kovesh, there's the shyness, there's life as we know it, but if everything is perfect in the day, if everything goes perfect from the minute you wake up, it's no fun, it's boring. So like that kasha you have on Ra, you have on Tov, but the point is, as long as we have the siyata d'shmaya that we're happy with, where we have this little bit of masochistic piece to us, that we like our Ra, we like our Ra, we like our Tov. What Rav Tzadok is saying over here is all of this that we have, and what really happened with the achil of the Eitz Hadas, because this is the question we start. L'maisa, was it a good thing or a bad thing? Shmuley, you ask this all the time, every time you come. Was it a good thing or a bad thing? Did we ask? That we ate for the Eitz Hadas?
Me?
Yeah, you don't remember?
It's a good thing.
Yeah. No question. The pshat is that it's a bad thing in the sense that all of a sudden there's Ra, and they're struggling. You think B'zayas HaPechot HaLechem is a good thing? It's a bad thing, but that's okay. You think Misa is a good thing? It's a bad thing. Some of it we like. Some of it we like. Most of it we don't like. We don't like tragedy. We don't like illness. We don't like wars. Nobody likes missiles, or the threat of missiles coming over our heads and Iranian threats. That's all Eitz Hadas. That's all Eitz Hadas. But the point is, it's also all Midas HaYisayim. That's what Yaakov said. It's all Midas HaYisayim. It's all the prelude to Malchus. What comes before the Malchus of Mashiach? Goygo Bagay. So the Goygo Bagay, this milchama, this crazy nuclear war that's called Goygo Bagay is Midas HaYisayim. What about it? Don't talk about it so much. A little bit. Don't talk about it so much. Too much, you become like a Meshiggah, or as he said, Shli'a to speaking about it. But I know the Chazal said, it's going to happen, but I don't want to be there when Mashiach comes. It's the Gemara says. Tanoim said that. I don't want to be there. It's not so gishmak. But part of the one, what's the outcome of the whole thing? But the whole world is Malchus Shalchai. The whole world is Malchus. The whole world is Toiv. There's a universal type. There's not a type which is a decision type. So we should be zocha to get rid of the struggle and the suffering. I think that's what we did. Okay.